Yo, what's good, my fellow deadheads? Your overlord has returned with yet another Kaiju number 8 video. And today, guys, we're going to be doing another unit breakdown video. We're going to be talking about our boy, our guy, 5-star Hoshina. Hoshina is actually my favorite character in the series because he reminds me of Levi from Attack on Titan if Levi had a sense of humor. And I feel like this man Hoshina just be like more willing to dog it out with tough ass enemies no matter what from the start. Like Levi will dog it out too, but I feel like Hoshina low-key be like, yo, I'm enjoying this shit. But yes, if you guys do enjoy these breakdown videos, then you can definitely go down below, leave a like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell. I thought that maybe I was kind of slowing down with these videos a tiny bit, but then I realized, like, with the Steam version being announced now, we know that it's coming at a certain point. I was like, yo, that's all the more reason to get through all of these characters and break down every single one of these characters so that when all of the Steam players come through and they start playing, like, they have more than just guides for the toppiest tier of character in the game. They also know what little support characters they should be working on as well. But guys, again, today we are talking about 5-star Hoshina, not 4-star Hoshina, but we're going to go ahead and just crack right into the video. And again, if you guys do enjoy these videos, you can go down below and do all the things that Deadman said before. And also, you guys can use my friend invite code down below the video so that the Deadman can work his way towards 1,500 more cubes for another summon, because if you guys have not noticed, summoning is a very common occurrence on this channel, whether it be in videos or not. But you guys do what you do, and I shall do the same. So first, I want to go over the pros and cons of the units. You guys already know how these videos are going by this point if you've watched the first 4 on the greatest SSRs or 5 stars in the game. Now we are to that tier of character where it's like they aren't necessarily the best in the game, but they still are good and they still have their own little places where they can fit in. But some pros for this man Hoshina. So first of all, he is an AoE attacker, so he only has one AoE attack, I believe, but even still, it is something that is AoE versus it being like a blast attack. I do take pride in units being actual legitimate AoE units and not just being blast units, because typically if you have a room of 4 Kaiju, then a blast unit is only hitting 3 of them, whereas an AoE unit can hit all 4 of them. So hopefully, you know, this man's damage is just meaningful enough so that the AoE attack actually does do what it needs to do whenever you're using the SP point for it. He also gives himself a crit rate and crit damage buff. I believe that some of his buffs are from hitting Kaiju and then some of his other buffs are from killing Kaiju, but I think for the most part a lot of his buffs are from killing Kaiju. So let's go ahead and say one of his cons: if he is not strong enough, if he's not built out fully enough to kill the Kaijus that he's attacking, then he may be missing out on some of his buffs. So he is going to require a high degree of investment, I feel, to make sure that he is getting those kills on the Kaijus, to make sure that he is getting those extra buffs that he needs. But a few more cons here. He is weak against giant class Kaiju. So quite literally, Mina is strong against giant class Kaiju. He is stronger against miniature class Kaiju because that's his specialty. Miniature size Kaiju that are small enough you can cut them up with a sword. And we've even seen him fight Kaiju number 10 in the anime, where Kaiju number 10 turned giant and he still was ready for a fight. It didn't really matter to him. And then extra damage comes after killing the Kaiju. Just again, touching back on that point, like, if he is not strong enough to kill these Kaiju, then he is missing out on an extra buff, and that's not very optimal for the character. It definitely should have been more of a style of, the more that I hit this unit, the more that I hit these Kaiju, the better the buff that I get. But that is it for the pros and cons. Now to look through some of this man's passives here, you can see that his first passive is going to be called Make It Quick. After defeating a Kaiju, applies attack plus X%, 2 turns for this unit. So at the point that I'm at right now, it's 11% for at level 1. And all these skills are at level 1. So I guess all of these values are important values because you know what the values are going to be as soon as you get the unit. But yes, after defeating a Kaiju, applies attack plus 11% for 2 turns to this unit. And then after activating a combat skill, applies Fierce to this unit. Fierce, this unit's crit rate and crit damage increase by 11 and 16% respectively. And then after attacking with a normal attack, Fierce will be removed. So very interesting. I don't see anything that says how much Fierce stacks up to, so it seems like Fierce may be an infinite stack, but when you do your normal attack, it does go away. So if you have a very SP hungry team, you will eat away your SP, and by the time you get back around to Hoshina, you might have to do the normal attack and get rid of his Fierce buff, which I don't like the fact that his best buff is so easily taken away by him doing his normal attack. But you can see here that after defeating a Kaiju, he's also going to get the extra attack as well, but it's only for 2 turns, so do keep that in mind. But if he does an AoE and theoretically kills 3 different kaiju, I believe this will stack out to 33% since it doesn't say it has any max stacks. So that is pretty good. Like, if you can get a group kill on some kaiju, you can get some really nice numbers the next turn. But yeah, again, it is about making sure that he can do the amount of damage that he is required to do to make sure that you can actually get that attack buff from killing the kaiju. We have the first additional passive, which unlocks a level 40. When attacking miniature class kaiju, this unit's damage though is plus 15%. So that go ahead and tells you right there that he is not versus mid-size, he is not versus giant class, he is mainly going to be against miniature class. You can probably use him, you know, in other scenarios as like extra supplementary damage, but like you're probably not going to be using him as the main damage dealer in those scenarios where he's not advantaged against the certain type of kaiju that you are fighting. And again, I just want to say I do very much love the intricacies of this game, from the plating type to the miniature mid-sized giant kaiju to the I mean, just everything really. I love how working on a character feels like you are putting their full kit together, you know, puzzle piece by puzzle piece. It really does feel like you're adding on to a collective heap of goodness for the character, right? Like, working on the character feels worth it versus just working on the character just to give him the extra stats, right? It feels like, okay, as I'm working through these passives and hitting these level caps, you know, boom, 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 I'm getting all these extra passives as well. And honestly, I'm trying to figure out, this is just random side note, I'm trying to work on certain characters for like showcase type of reasons, but then I'm also kind of like just trying to work on characters in general to a point where all of them have all of their passives unlocked at least, because then they are in the most optimal free to play state where all their basic parts of their kit are already unlocked. But let's not divulge or digress too much. Let's get back over to this man Hoshina. His second additional passive is going to be super speed. After activating the ultimate, applies speed plus 15% for 1 turn to this unit. So he is giving himself a tiny bit of speed right there, but you're gonna see here very quickly that like speed is not this unit's focus. It's more about that damage. It's more about that crit rate, that crit damage, and you know, make sure that AoE is getting a crit out whenever it does get used, and making sure that the crit is very damaging. Then we have the additional passive number 3. At the start of the battle, applies Fierce. That is the same as the passive skills to this unit. So again, nothing here is stopping the stacks of Fierce. So it looks like Fierce can just stack infinitely, which that part of his kit is actually very, very good. Because if you can get like a turn sequence where you use like his combat skill, and then like everybody else, you were able to use their normal attacks and not really be too fucked off of it, and then get back around to this man Hoshina and then do another combat skill into the ultimate, right? You can get the fiercest stacking, you know, beyond just what they want you to have for that 1 to 2 turn type of thing. Or you can't stack it past 2 turns, but you can at least try to speed buff him with like the other Hoshina, right? And then just keep getting him extra turns out. I think that SR Hoshina or 4-star Hoshina might be a very good testing unit, just to see characters like this who have such a finite stack, right? See if they can't get their turns back a lot faster, and see if they can't get that stack up to a really crazy amount. But yes, I do love the passives that give something at the start of the battle instead of making you have to work for it in the kit how you usually do. So I'd say this passive is actually pretty good. But now we can go ahead and move on to his battle abilities. So his first battle ability is going to be Wild Slashes. It's going to be a single target attack, and it just a very basic attack. Deals slash damage equal to 55% of this unit's attack to a single kaiju. And guys, remember, everything that I'm reading is at base level, at level 1, so it only gets better than this. That is whether you have dupes of the character, that is whether you have the skill already leveled up. But this one's going to fill your ultimate gauge by 60, which is a little bit higher, I believe, than the regular rate. I think we're getting back around the range where, actually, we're still talking about the 5-star characters. You start to look at the 4-star characters, and you notice a lot of them, their skill charge on different skills, their ult gauge charge is a little bit lower than a lot of the SSR characters. So that does kind of suck, but they are some of the best supports in the game, and if their supports, if they were able to build towards their support as fast as a damaging unit was able to build towards their ultimate, it would feel a little insane, I'm gonna be honest. So now we have double attack. Double attack does just consume 1 SP, but this is the true AoE attack. You can see here at level 1 is dealing slash damage equal to 64% of this unit's attack to all kaiju, so I can only imagine what that number is going to be at level 10 or at level 12 even. I imagine at level 10 the multiplier at the very least doubles? I would hope so, unless the multiplier starts out at a very huge number in the first place. But yes, this is the AoE attack skill, so save up those SP points for this man. I'm not going to say that he is an SP hungry unit like the other units, because the other units, their SP abilities, their combat skills have very important mechanics tacked around them, whereas I feel like this man's SP skill is literally just an AoE, so it's just kind of like, you know, place it when you want to. If you feel like you can wipe a whole wave of Kaiju, or not even if you feel like, it literally shows you if a Kaiju is going to get killed from a hit. But like, if you want to attempt to get that whole wave wipe on some Kaiju, then hey man, let that skill fly. Then we have the ultimate here, which is the Hoshina style sword slade technique, number 6, 8-fold slasher. So much of such a mouthful. This one is going to be a single target attack as well, and before the attack even pops off, this attack's crit rate is just initially plus 16%. So the higher I get the skill level, the more the crit rate is going to go up. But with the crit rate going up, that means that probably you're going to want to build him crit damage. I'm already seeing it now. Because this man, he has like very basic damage buffs in his kit, but the crit rate from this is pretty nice. I didn't notice that this said crit rate right here. So if I level up this skill on his ultimate, he should be getting a very high amount of crit rate. And even though it's not crit rate for a couple of turns, it is still going to be nice that it is crit rate for this attack, which is going to be his highest damaging attack that you'll see. Then deal slash damage equal to 224% of this unit's attack to a single Kaiju, and then while in the fierce state, advances this unit's next action order by 20%. So not necessarily a speed buff right there, but you can see giving him more play, right? More points of contact on the enemy. So pretty solid ultimate, all things considered, boosting the crit rate, solid damage it seems like it's going to do. And if he's in the fierce state, which if you have him to level 80, he starts off in the fierce state. As long as you don't do a normal attack, he's staying in the fierce state. Then he can get that next action order by 20%. So, and obviously you can play with it. You don't have to be so hesitant to hold the fierce state from the start of the battle. And man, I just want to say, guys, plugging this up to my computer and using my computer as like a screen to like look over this stuff, you know, view it a lot better, it really just makes me more and more excited for the Steam version of the game. If you guys are ready for the Steam version of the game, man, go down below, leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment down below, because the Dead Man is ready for the Steam version too, and the Dead Man is praying that the Steam version gives everybody who's been waiting more than what they've been waiting for, and then some, because I just feel like it really sucks to have a game promoted to be out on all these platforms, and it's only on a few of the platforms, not all of the platforms that were promoted, that were advertised to us. But they're still trying to put in that work. They're still trying to change things for the better. So we will be here. We will see what they do. Now we have the follow-up attack, which is the Supreme Speed Strike, and this one is just going to deal slash damage equal to 66% of this unit's attack to a single Kaiju. Now, let's see how much these moves scale. If I level up this skill, this one levels up or scales by 5%. This one, if I level it up, scales by 6%. So maybe the follow-up attack is going to take a little bit more priority than the normal attack, just because the damage on the follow-up attack starts out a little bit higher, and it's more percentage per level that you get. But guys, if I were to give you recommendations on the order of leveling up the skills, I would say 1, do the passive skill, because it just makes the fierce buff much stronger. And if your fierce buff is much stronger, that means you're starting off the fight with more crit rate and more crit damage, because we have humble swordsmanship. So we start off with the fierce buff at the start of the battle. Then the skill you're going to want to take up next is probably going to be the combat skill, just because he is an AoE unit, and that seems like it's going to be the main bulk of his kit. But right after that AoE, right after that combat skill, absolutely get that ultimate up to make sure that whenever you're hitting that ultimate, you can get really big damage numbers on the attack that the ultimate is going to be doing. And then afterwards, you can do the normal attack or the follow-up attack. It does not matter, but like I said, the follow-up attack does have a little bit more damage. Also, it is just an attack that happens whenever your battle buddy breaks plating. So if your Hoshina is going to be sitting beside some of your strongest characters, typically my 5-star characters are sitting beside a 4-star character to make them shine even more. So typically, instead of Hoshina trying to be beside somebody who is going to be breaking the Kaiju, he would be the person that is breaking the Kaiju for me. And honestly, Hoshina is somebody I would use if I was trying to go a more free-to-play route versus using like Narumi, because I feel like Narumi is probably the most premium damage option that you got, and I feel like Narumi covers a lot of gaps for for slasher and shooter characters in the SSR tier in general, in the 5-star tier in general. So I do not know that the follow-up attack is what you want to do after all these other attacks. Probably the normal attack first, then the follow-up attack. So let's re-go over that. Passive skill first because of the fierce buff, the combat skill second because of the AoE, the ultimate third, and honestly, I'd even say, realistically, I could even say passive second, ultimate, or passive first, ultimate second, AoE third, normal attack fourth, follow-up attack fifth. I would leave it like that, but whatever it says in the document, it will be whatever I left it at. Now, let's take a trip over to this man's Uniparts. So guys, at the moment right now, this man does not have on any Uniparts, but as I'm looking through his kit, there's one thing that I'm noticing that I really like. So you can either do the lizard kit, which is going to give him an even higher crit rate, which is going to help him to abuse that crit damage that he has in his kit as well a little bit more. And you can also see before the equipped unit activates his ultimate, applies damage dealt plus 25% to the equipped unit, so that's also going to make his ultimate hit even harder, and this is going to pretty much guarantee that his ultimate is a crit versus it being something, you know, not a crit, right? But what I am thinking is more so I probably want to do the fungal type set, because the fungal type set still gives you an extra 25% damage though right before you do your ultimate, so that is exactly the same in that regard. Gives you the same amount of attack, but instead is going to amplify your crit damage to be a lot higher. And there was something in Hoshina's kit that I had read, the crit rate on his ultimate just being an innate built-in crit rate buff on the actual skill itself. I think that that skill is going to make it so that his ultimate hits extremely freaking hard, and I did not see too many extra buffs for crit rate in his kit, but I can't front of you, I'm probably banking more on the ultimate damage than the AoE damage doing something impactful. So I am probably going to do a fungal type set for this man Hoshina personally. I would not be surprised though if you guys wanted to go for a lizard type unit part set. Honestly, I think that Narumi was just a lucky little coincidence that I tried him out with the fungal type set and it's just working way better for me. I don't think that this man Hoshina has all the sauce that that boy Narumi has. So I think that the lizard type set is probably going to be a safer bet for players. But I am probably going to test out the fungal type set because I feel like my units typically work in a way where I do have a pretty decent crit rate. And also, if I just look at the natural crit rate of Hoshina right now, his crit rate is, oh boy, his crit rate is very freaking low. But I do have to keep in mind the crit rate that I'm comparing it to is this man Narumi, and Narumi is quite literally wearing an entire like gear set. So his crit rate is only 32.2%, but even still with that, and then him doing his combat skill 3 times in battle, giving himself an extra 30% crit rate, it just seems like this man Narumi is just critting all the freaking time. So I just don't think that I don't think Hoshina is going to have as much freedom to get those crits off all the time like Narumi. So again, I would say probably the lizard type unit parts for him the most. And honestly, maybe I'll try the lizard part unit type first just to see if I like it. And if I like how the damage feels on that set already, then I will keep that. But if I feel like the damage can be a lot greater, if I feel like he's already moving fast enough, I feel like he's critting enough, then I will maybe sacrifice the crit rate for that crit damage. But all things that need to be tested in the future. Now guys, let's talk about some weapon recommendations for this man Hoshina. So guys, the typical weapon that you summon for the dual blades is going to be the SW2033, but I actually have these on my 4-star Hoshina because the main stat that this weapon provides is speed. And even though this is also providing, after you do a normal attack or a combat skill, if a critical hit occurs, applies damage dealt plus 19.5% to the equipped unit. That doesn't really help out my 4-star Hoshina, but sometimes he does pop off his ultimate or his normal attack and it does a little bit more damage and it surprises me than I expect. So that can be useful for your Hoshina, especially because he's going to be using the combat skill a lot to buff Narumi. So there you go. You always will have a higher critical hit, or not higher critical hit. You always have a higher damage dealt just on that man pretty much all the time. If he's hitting a crit, if he's doing a normal attack, or if he's doing a combat skill, which typically he is most of the time doing one of those 3 skills. And then also before activating an AoE attack, he gets slash damage dealt plus 19.5%, which is again nice, and it is very obvious that that part is for the 5-star Hoshina. But again, just because the speed is the main stat on this weapon, I'm giving that to my 4-star Hoshina because I want that man to be an absolute speed demon. So I actually found a different weapon that I like a little bit better for this Hoshina, and this weapon right here is called the SW Take Minekata. Take Minakata. Yes, Take Minakata, right? And this one is going to be slash damage dealt plus 17%, and then before the equipped unit activates, ultimate applies attack plus 21% for 3 turns on the unit, and when the equipped unit's HP remaining is 80% or more, the equipped unit's damage dealt is plus 12%. So it may have a HP restriction, kind of like extra damage thing to it, but that's not that bad considering that most of the time when I'm running these teams, I usually have a tank on the team, I usually have a healer on the team, or something of that nature. So I actually will probably be able to abuse this 80% HP buff a lot more than I am expecting to be able to use it. But really why I have him here is for the slash damage, because this slash damage right here is going to give him extra damage no matter where in his kit he is doing something. Not just for the normal attack, not just for the combat skill, but for any skill. And you can even see that when he activates his ultimate, he does get extra attack as well, and that lasts for 3 turns. So it's just going to make it, this weapon just I think makes his ultimate hit harder, to be honest with you. It's just going to make his ultimate stat look a lot better, and honestly, for this Hoshina, that's all I really want from him. Like I said, bro, I will probably literally run the 4-star Hoshina beside this Hoshina, just because the 4-star Hoshina is like the fastest unit in the damn game, and that man could just buff this man to the heavens with extra, not blast attack wouldn't matter, but single target attacks and extra speed. But guys, now we are going to go over to the dead man's favorite part of these videos. Can you guess? Can you guess? Ascension. Ascension is my favorite part of the video because it teaches me so much more about the character just from reading their Ascension passives. Also, I want you guys to know that the quality on my screen capture is crazy because y'all can see the silhouette of Hoshina, but if I'm looking at my actual iPad screen, Hoshina is a pitch black silhouette. I cannot see this kid at all. But let's take a look. Steady neutralization. When attacking a Kaiju that has 50% or less remaining HP, this unit's crit damage plus 20%. So again, that crit damage is already being built up in his Ascension passives. We're only in the first Ascension passive here, but crit rate may be the way to go. Then you can see here, only way to leave a mark, slash damage dealt plus 15%. So I do like to see, you know, more damage being added in. And also guys, what is it that differentiates these I guess they just want to distinct to you that it is percentage and not just flat stat damage. That's why the number is in blue. But typically the blue numbers are the ones that change. And if you look through the passives, like for instance, this one says that the crit damage is boosted plus 20%, but you see the 20% is in white text, it is not in blue text. So what differentiates this passive from the other passive that makes it so that this needs to be in blue versus the other one? I don't know, but chat, if you do know, go down below and let me know. But yes, only way to leave a mark, slash damage dealt plus 15%. So obviously just going to make them hit harder. This is obviously just leveling up certain skills, and so is the Ascension 5 as well. If we look at the Ascension 4, Path Carving Determination. After activating ultimate, applies ultimate gauge charge rate plus 20% for 2 turns to this unit. So you can kind of see here, not only does he have good damage buffs built in, but also it seems like if you get enough dupes in this man, he doesn't become like a full-on ult rusher, but maybe somewhat of a pseudo ult rusher where you can kind of bank more on his ultimate than his AoE. I feel like depending on the dupes you have for this character, he's either going to be an AoE unit for you, or he is going to be a ultimate ult spam character for you, which is not a bad thing because we have a dedicated just straight up AoE unit, and they don't look the best in my opinion. When I read their kit, I was just kind of like, man, what are we here for? This just felt so basic. It felt like you were trying to do a lot of things, but like none of the things worked too well. So he just kept grabbing straws at other things, and like it just didn't pan out too well. But then we see a 6 here is going to be, while in the fierce state, this unit's defense penetration rate is plus 25%. So again, I know I'm harping back on the weapons or the gear, the Uniparts, but again, I just want to say that I think the lizard type Uniparts are going to be the best because as you see here, as I'm looking through this kit, I didn't see anything that said crit rate. I only saw something that said crit damage. So I think this man's crit damage should be formidable enough. I think more so you want to put him up in a way where he is going to be guaranteed getting those crits. So definitely build the crit rate. Basically what determines whether I build crit rate or crit damage is like when I'm looking through their Ascension passives, right? Do I see any passwords that say crit rate? Do I see multiple passwords that say crit rate? Do I see any passwords that say crit damage? Do I see multiple that say crit damage? If I see one or more of the other, then I will focus my gear on the opposite thing that's not focused in the Ascension, because if crit damage is focused all throughout the kit, all I gotta do is work on lizard type to make sure that I'm getting crits off. And then if crit rate is focused on in the kit, all I gotta do is give myself fungal type to make sure that my crits that I'm guaranteed gonna be hitting are just way bigger damage. But I don't hate Hoshina's Ascension path. Just a lot of extra big damage. I appreciate it. It just makes sense with the character. Now, guys, I kind of said it already throughout this video multiple times, but I think that this man's best battle buddy is going to be the 4-star Hoshina. I just want to say again, it is so excellent, so great, so wonderful that we do not have to wait for like some same name update so that we can run the same name characters on the same team. I can run Hoshina beside Hoshina, Mina with Mina, and Kaiju number 8 with Kafka. So it is a very good day in Kaiju land. We can rejoice. Hoshina's best battle buddy is going to be the 4-star version of himself. That man is just the best battle buddy in the game, right? But that's for, I will go over those reasons in his actual video. But I just want to say that whenever you have a unit whose whole purpose is to do really high amounts of damage, like toxic amounts of damage, most of the time the best battle buddy for that character is going to be Hoshina. Most of the time when a character's purpose is to survive and make sure your team is alive, their best battle buddy is probably going to be Akadi, because she has the healing, she has the revive that she can give to anybody on your team. So not even as a reviver for your tank who probably isn't even going to die, but just as somebody to revive another character who possibly died when your tank just maybe had an unlucky turn and couldn't get off the skill that was providing them team protection abilities. But yeah, best battle buddy for Hoshina is 4-star version of Hoshina. If you guys did enjoy the video, you can definitely go down below. You can leave a like on the video. You can also hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get notified every time the Dead Man hits the Kaiju glide. And guys, I really do like making these videos. It may seem like I'm low energy sometimes, it may seem like I'm high energy sometimes, but I absolutely do love making these videos. And I'm just wanting to be absolutely prepared for whenever these Steam players finally get on the version of the game, right? And there is actually a wiki, it's the Game With wiki, but I feel like the Game With wiki is just so clunky and it just doesn't look super appealing to scroll around on that wiki. And I'm not saying that it's like super appealing to scroll around in a Google Doc, but I mean, again, guys, if you need it, these documents, these guides are linked below every single one of these character showcase videos I do for the respective character. And eventually, big surprise, eventually I will do a tier list for all the characters in the game, and I will just link the head folder for all of the characters that I have done once I do the tier list. That way you guys can just have a one click and then you can access any of these characters that you need to take a look at. But guys, that is going to be it for the video. If you did enjoy the video, do all the things that the Dead Man coached you on a moment ago. And remember that the Dead Man does love you, and Hoshina for the win. Peace.